Hello, beautiful stars. Courtney here, Stars of the Morning Light. I am the host. This channel is all things beautiful and bright. No, I'm just joking. This channel actually covers a lot of Akashic messages, ancient texts, and Edgar Casey. Please join us for our Edgar Casey life skills because that is where so much information is going to be pouring out as far as his prophecies and who he was and what was said. So, every Sunday at 2 p.m., if I'm tired or not, which I am a bit tired, folks, is a Akashic message, a weekly Akashic message. This morning, Sunday, July 16, 2023, my lovely patrons and I, a few of them, about 8 of us, got together and did an amazing group meditation using our individual pyramids. We are going to have a class on July 23rd discussing it more in depth. Please consider joining us on Patreon because I know even more so now that we're doing it. All of the ancient codes, ancient knowing of us beautiful stars is definitely going to start being more revealed to at least my patrons. I do know that, and it's going to be revealed to many people, but at patreon.com with Stars of the Morning Light, we're gonna be changing and growing and really delving more so into ancient Egypt stuff, working with our pyramids. And I don't mean like the Book of the Dead. I mean before that. And this morning was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So please consider joining us. Lori, I see you in the chat. Thank you, moderator, for being here. It was suggested to me, and Lori is one of the patrons as well. And I know she was there, and it was a great time. I do suggest really hopping on board. $8 a month. I teach there more in-depth classes twice a month. We're starting this telepathic project and developing many skills with working with our individual pyramid. This was suggested to me that I take the weekly Akashic messages and I shorten them. I make multiple videos or maybe 2 that I just talk about what the Akashic says in one on Sunday, and if I need to go more in depth, I will, another video on Monday, because most viewers, you only got 20 minutes or so anyways, which I appreciate, and I really appreciate all suggestions. So I don't think I'm going to do that this week. Next week I might end up switching it up like that and seeing how it goes. Just because the message for today is very simple. It is actually very, very simple for this coming week. So it is July 16th today, July 16th through like the 22nd of 2023. There is a lot, and so I understand why the Akashic said what they did. I mean, they're keeping it very simple for us, which, thank you, right? This week, planetarily wise, is going to be bumpy. Bumpy is a good word. Bumpy is a good word. And I am not an astrologer. Everyone that is a normal viewer here knows that I'm not an astrologer. There are some great astrologers out there. I know enough to do what I need to do. I know enough to work with the energies, not against them. I know enough, that sort of thing. I do work with the moon on a regular basis. If those of you who have taken my moon manifesting course, which is 8 videos and a 25-page workbook that comes to you in an email. Lately, as I was talking to some of the students, they had not been feeling that connection with the moon. it's because she's working hard. It really is because she's working hard. That will change up tomorrow night. Okay, she's the new moon's going into the Cancer, and so it'll change up. But prior to that, remember or if you didn't know, in the summer, both the sun and the moon are working extremely hard. And so, because she's kind of like our mom, it's one of those things of like, take care of yourself, kids. I'm working really hard for you. So, if you weren't feeling that much of a connection, she is still very much listening. She is present. She's just working hard. She's working 2, 3 jobs, that single mom. So, we give her space. She will be more available for us to lean on and talk to post Monday. And that is because she was also coming out of that very long dark moon phase and then going straight into work. So that's why that would be if any of you were feeling kind of a disconnect there. I do talk to my viewers and patrons and those in the chat because we are a beautiful community here. We begin to know each other, we begin to support each other and care for one another. And a lot of us have gone through that moon manifesting course together. Now, though, this week, there is a lot of energies that are going to be strenuous, tension, maybe a bit difficult to navigate, right? It's gonna start tomorrow, and I will go further into this. It'll start tomorrow, and then we'll have a couple of days there, like okay, and then Thursday is gonna be like whoa, whoa, leading into kind of the coming down Saturday and Sunday. This is all for our betterment. This is all for us to kind of understand what we care about, to understand where we stand, where our standing. And so the message is more so about that and how to kind of navigate through this week. I did draw a card for today's message out of the Sacred Geometry deck, and this is apropos. Number 34, passion. There might be a lot of passionate people. Definitely starting tomorrow. Planetarily wise, I'm not going to remember all that's going on. Stuff's going on with Mars. Stuff with Venus. Stuff with Jupiter. Stuff with Aries. Stuff with Leo. There's a lot going on. And what's interesting is there's a lot of, like, the moon's going to eventually move into Leo. Some other stuff is. And guys, Leo is the heart. Leo is your authenticity. Leo oftentimes is, if we're in our truth, is what's trying to push our truth out. That heart, right? And Aries, Mars, Saturn, all sorts of stuff going on with these, and Jupiter and Venus. There's a lot going on in the sky. Aries, though, that is war. That's a different kind of passion. Let's say it's a different kind of fire. It's a different kind of fire. I'm not against any Aries. My fire and your fire, it's just we work with it differently, right? There might be a lot of people voicing their opinions, but because it's fueled with fiery energy, it might not be their true selves expressing it, even though Leo is trying to say, hey, express yourselves the way what you really feel. It might just be a lot of feelings, especially with the new moon in Cancer. It might just be a lot of feelings, folks. So, number 34, passion. The frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. It assists us in finding the balance within this intensity, moving us from chaos to calm of its core, where we can let its long-lasting wisdom fill us up. That is passion. That's true. That is the right course of passion as I hold up the sacred geometry image of it. That is what passion really should do. It is intense emotions, but within all of those emotions, there does lie some truth, some value. But it often gets hidden because we get so fired up. And especially now, I always tell people, especially here in the United States or in the Northern Hemisphere, really here in the States, as we are all experiencing extreme heat for the most part, even in parts of the states that normally don't. We're having extreme heat right now. That mixed on top of the energies that are coming in this week, people are going to be cranky. People are going to be boisterous in not the most passion, fun-loving ways. Their passions might come out in other areas. That is okay. That is okay, because, we just got to walk through it. It's not... But this is when we are talking about a lot of the storm of 2023, of us being in the eye of it, that yes, we do travel with these storms, or we don't just let the storms bat us around. It's not what we do. We know our stance, we know we're in the center, and we know we're just observing. We're just observing. This is about that time, though, that the storms are going to start picking up. The storms are going to start picking up. And we're already, at least us here in the States, we are already cranky and hot. And this is why when you go to the grocery store, couples are fighting, babies are crying. We're all just really kind of miserable. It is the dog days of summer. We work with energies, not against them. And that's what the Akashic message is, really, for this week. They want me to say definitely, to remind everyone, and if you're new to this channel, join us, subscribe, ring my bell. I've noticed many of my bells have been unrung, so ring my bell, folks, or double check that my bell has been rung. It's interesting to say that. Because we cover a lot of this stuff here. First, the Akashic wants me to say that the divisions are illusions. That is going to be more amplified this week. This concept of us versus them, all separation, whatever the divisions are. The divisions that have been created are so numerous that you can't even list them. Those really are all of an illusion. We are one. We are one human race. We are one thought body, but many aren't there yet. But people are, as they also want me to say, many are waking up to the fact that that's an illusion. So it's interesting. We're going to have like a very, I want to say the word bumpy. That is kind of just what's coming out. It's going to feel bumpy a little internally, and I'll explain why, and then we'll see stuff, right? Because many are waking up to the illusions. Many are waking up to the fact that the division is the main illusion, right? Well, even if they're waking up to it, a lot of people's first reaction is to even voice that, scream about that. And then that would make the others that might be opposing scream even louder. So it might be a little bit bumpy as people are thinking that they're speaking their truth when they're really, no, they're just fired up about coping and understanding that everything is an illusion. Us here, though, at Stars of the Morning Light, we know better. We know better. We know what's really going on. And so for us, and the viewers here, and Max, I saw you pop in the chat. Good to see you. Max, remote vision, he is in the chat right now. I believe he is also in my about section, or the section that has other channels. He has a great channel, everyone. Go over and see Max. Max, I'll have to get you on here sometime to talk about how you do your remote viewing, because I found it fascinating and wonderful. Just a wonderful practice. I was new to how you do it, and it was amazing. So if you're listening, pop into the chat, hit on Max's remarks, and go right over and subscribe. For us, who, okay, we're still in this world, we have to be around all the passionate, let's say, voices, as we ourselves are experiencing inner dialogue, somewhat inner questioning. There's a lot going on with Venus and Jupiter and Mars and whatnot that gets us kind of questioning, like the things that we really thought that we held dear, or our conceptions of life. All that's happening for us really is a reprocessing. Do I really believe this? Do I not really believe this? But because there's going to be so many voices, not in our heads, but like on the screens and everywhere, there could be a lot of triggers and things that you thought you didn't care about. All of a sudden, whoa, somebody said something, and clearly you're triggered and you do care about it. Or vice versa, you might be able to notice, yeah, I don't really care about that. There's a lot of interplay happening within ourselves. Do know, for me, many refer to 2023 as a very spiritual transition year. For me, it is a spiritual self-identity year. I always tack that label onto it even more so. And it's not just self-identity. I mean, we have countries, and we have organizations. We have, everything's going through an identity crisis, basically, it feels like. And that's good, though, because as we just read, like the card of passion, all those intense emotions that come from figuring out who we are as the stars, you beautiful star self, figuring out who we are, there's a lot of intensity to that. And that really does kind of kick off this week, leading into the really August, September. I mean, September, there is going to be an apex of, this is what I've been talking about, that what happens in September, and stick with us at Stars of the Morning Light, that is going to be where you make your definitive, this is who I am. But you might not start experiencing it or truly claiming it until we get into 2024. But you are going to have more awareness as to who you are as an individual, and what your purpose is, quote unquote, between now and going into the very climactic September. I find it great. I love it. I think it's wonderful. Is it bumpy? Yeah, it's bumpy. It's bumpy. It's really bumpy, because the majority of the world is egos talking to egos. So remember, they said the divisions are an illusion, and more are waking up to the illusion. And then they gave us two kind of, I don't know, suggested advice. You know, we can do what we want. Human free will really overrides so much stuff. And if we learned that more so, our freedom and human free will, how powerful that actually is, things would be changing in moments. In moments. I'm still working on that for everybody. Your human free will, by the way, is one of the most powerful things in all of the cosmos. We are so unique and special and wonderful with that. And how we use it, as above, so below, as below, so above, as within, so without, all is connected. How we use it affects everything. So us that do know, they said this. They said, save face for the unspoken. And I actually had to kind of sit with that for a minute. I actually Googled, like we've all heard that expression, save face. Save face, right? My grandma used to have to say it to me all the time. But it's been a while, so I was like, what does that actually mean? And I Googled the meaning. And it says, avoid humiliation or embarrassment. Preserve dignity. And when I looked up that meaning, I went, oh, yep. Because see, that many people are going to do the opposite this week. Many people are going to be humiliating themselves, embarrassing themselves with misusing their passion, with misusing this energy that is here for us to really go inside and be like, all right, who am I really? Instead of that, everybody's going to be starting to just scream a bunch of stuff. That is when at the same time, because of the Leo heart energy is coming in, that controls a whole lot of our authenticity, is going to be trying to pull everybody back and be like, do you really? But then because there's so much happening in the planets, it really is going to be like, they don't care what you're saying, Leo, just scream, right? So for us, save face for the unspoken. And I was like, for the unspoken, I even asked, I was like, do you want us to save face to the unspoken? Be the unspoken? Like, I was trying to figure it out, but they once again, I always question when I shouldn't, because they go, no, that's the words we want. So save face for the unspoken. Meaning, because it took me a moment, if we pull back this week, which is what we really are supposed to do, if we pull back and not engage, and be those observers, and be the observers, and be the light, that's the true message, we'll get there in a minute, and just observe, regardless if we're being triggered, regardless of whatever's happening, regardless of how hot and cranky we are, if we just pull back and don't say anything, we are saving ourselves from a humiliation, save face. We're avoiding humiliation, embarrassment. We're preserving our dignity. Because isn't it horrible when we say something in the heat of passion, in the heat of anger, or the heat of confusion, and then we gotta apologize with our tails between our legs, oh, I didn't mean to say that. For us who know that all of this is really an illusion that's going to be going on this week, the fighting, the stuff that will be happening, big and small. For us that know that, it is best to pull back. When I truly started my healing journey, and spiritual journey, I had a mentor that told me over and over again, because I'm full of fire, guys. I'm full of, it's my way or the highway type of, that's how I was. I had a mentor that continuously kept telling me, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing. And we get all these memes out there right now that say, you know, the worst thing to do is to do nothing. I'm saying the exact opposite this week. Sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing, to say nothing, to do nothing, to pull back and just observe. I was speaking with someone yesterday, Jamie Gray of Blue Sun Fusion Studio, which I have just booked my first 3 belly dance classes with her to treat myself for my birthday gift. My birthday's coming up, and that to really get in tune with my body again. I said that would be a great gift for myself. So I'm looking forward to that. But I was speaking with her about something yesterday, and so if you're local, belly dancing Thursday nights with me at Blue Sun Fusion Studio, you can see me enjoying humiliating myself. No, I'm joking. We were talking about the different cultures. So I was a Yankee, northern Midwesterner, from Chicagoland, who moved down here to the South years ago, about 8-9 years ago. The first 2 years that I was here, because of my entire upbringing as a Yankee, I felt like I was losing my mind, because in all cultures, in all regions of even the United States, right? And this is not a division thing, it's that they just have different ways of going about life opposed to other areas, right? But I felt greatly with jobs and meeting people. There were many things that I did not understand because they're very ingrained into the Southern culture and not so obvious, right? Same as wherever you grew up in the world. Not so obvious. It's just in your culture. And for about 2 years, I thought I was going crazy. I mean, I didn't understand how anyone was really communicating with some big stuff or even little things, but it was the little things. And one of the differences, and there's a reason I'm bringing this up, because being able to step back and truly be an observer when things have been driving you crazy or feeling crazy or the whole world looks like they're crazy is a great advantage. So there's an aspect about the Southern culture that I, of course, struggled with. Being a Yankee, I'll start there. Being a Yankee, growing around Chicagoland, growing up that way, we move about with each other because it's much more, city, especially if you grew up in the city. We move around and communicate very nonverbal, very nonverbal. If we need to pass someone, they usually are they know you need to pass. We just move around and do things non-verbally in a lot of ways. If your coworker looks exhausted, you might pick up the load for them non-verbally in a way, or say, hey, let me help you out. They don't necessarily have to ask. It's so much. Or like, let's say we're in, perfect example, folks, so if you're going to travel to the South, this will happen, trust me. Let's say we see a friend in the grocery store in the North, and let's chat for a moment, get caught up. We will automatically move our carts over to the side to speak to one another so people can pass. That kind of thing. We just move about non-verbally in a lot of ways. And it's ingrained in us. The South does not do that. Not in any way, shape, or form. So I thought I was going crazy. There were times that my husband and I thought we were losing our minds. Because growing up that way, you automatically expect everybody else to, I need to get that carton of milk you would move out of the way. No. So in the South, if people see each other and they're in the same aisle and they're crossing each other, they will stop and just take up the whole aisle to talk. And they could be standing there for a good long time. And they will not move. Oh, bear with me. Or let's say they're talking in front of where you need to be and you're standing right there and you're assuming they're going to move. They don't. With them, everything has to be verbal. Because if it's not verbal, they don't have to. It is ingrained in that culture. So I had been living here in the South for like 2 years. This kind of stuff, there's so many subtleties that people don't know. So all these people that moved around during COVID, yeah, you got some learning to do. I was on a plane. I had lived in the South for about 2 or 3 years, and I was going home for a funeral. And there was a layover in North Carolina. So it was like a Chicago layover in North Carolina. There was interactions of South and North on the same plane. It was fascinating. And I'm across from a woman. She was Southern. She and I had said hello to each other, so I knew by her accent she was Southern. She was sitting there reading a book. I'm sitting, on the opposite aisle. And a couple came down, and they were clearly more Chicago. I could hear their accent. And they started talking with each other. The couple started talking with each other, and they were saying, well, maybe that woman can move to our seat so we can sit together, right? They were trying to sit together for the flight because their seats were, separated. And the woman could clearly hear them. I could clearly hear them. Everything's being heard, right? Everything's as if we're eavesdropping into this couple having a conversation about maybe she'll do that. Well, they now are right at her seat. The Chicago people were waiting for her to respond. Like, hey, yeah, not a problem, I'll get up. Or no, I'm actually waiting for someone. But they had never actually addressed her personally. Now, in the Midwest around Chicago, we would have been like, yeah, we would have already handled it fast. Like, the moment they said anything, either it's a yes or a no, it's good. They wouldn't have had to have personally addressed us. Which is a lot of what happens, right? She just sat there. And now the people behind this couple are starting to pack up or starting to, it's getting, people want to sit down. And the Chicago couple are staring at each other thinking, oh my goodness, is she deaf? Like, you could tell they're going, what do we do here? What do we do here? And as an observer, I'm watching all this because this is exactly what I had gone through for about 2 years, and I still couldn't figure out what was happening. So I just sat back and I was watching. I was watching the Chicago people, and I'm watching this Southern woman across from me. I'm watching all of this. And at some point at the very beginning, I'm like, why isn't she responding? Same kind of mentality I had for 2 years. Not understanding what was going on. I'm like, why is she not responding? I know she speaks. We said hello to each other. Why is she not responding? So then I immediately went into just observe, Courtney. Just observe what's happening here. And as I'm watching now this couple not know what to do, they're looking at me, they're looking at each other, they're not knowing why she's not responding. I mean, there's a total moment of freak out for them because they're not understanding why. And she's just sitting there reading her book, acting as if she's not hearing nothing. This beautiful Southern woman acting like, I'm not hearing nothing. I haven't heard nothing. And in that moment of me observing this, it was like a light bulb went off and I went, oh my goodness, you have to ask. You have to actually address them. You have to ask. Which is so foreign to other areas of this country. We just operate with, yeah, okay, cool. It doesn't have to be a formal asking. And so it clicked in my brain. I turned to the people from Chicago and I said, hey, You have to ask her. And they kind of shook their head and they were like, what? I said, you have to ask her if she will move for you. And then the guy kind of, oh, okay. And he turns to her, excuse me, miss, would you be willing to move seats so my wife and I can... She hopped up immediately. Oh, yes, of course I will. She grabbed her book and grabbed her. Of course I will. She was waiting for them to ask her. She knew the whole time what they wanted. That is different cultural stuff. And it's not, neither is right or wrong. It's just how things operate, right? It's just what it is. And that's why people that move around have issues, you know, when they first get into new areas of the country. But the point of that was the observer mode. In the observer, I'm just going to watch all these people screaming and saying this and doing that. I'm just going to watch, because we can actually learn a lot about what is also going to be happening within ourselves. I hope that made sense to you guys. That for like 2 years, I had no idea what I was losing my mind. And then all of a sudden, I got an opportunity to really see it. To see it that I was not attached to any of it. And I got to see it in full action. And it was like, whoa, click. You actually got to ask these people. So when they are talking to each other in an aisle in the store, if you do not verbally say, excuse me, they will not move. I mean, you could even be standing there with your cart. Down here it's a buggy. And you could be standing there waiting for them to stop talking to get through. If you do not ask them, they will not move. It is a cultural thing. Groovy. I have assimilated. I either ask or I turn around. I don't care. I just didn't know for years what the heck that was until full-on opportunity to observe. This week for us is 2 things. Actually, 3 things. In that whole save face for the unspoken, so those who do not speak and feel the need to scream and be real passionate about stuff this week, for those that pull back and shut our mouths, we will be saving a whole lot of face. Saving the humiliation, the embarrassment, keeping our dignity. Because all the energies are going to be telling us not to do that. It's going to be trying to create more of the illusion. So if we pull back and just listen and watch in observer mode, we can learn a lot more about what's happening with us internally, right? At the same time, though, they do want everyone to understand that this week a lot of people are going to be waking up. This is where it starts, folks. The storms and the awakening. It's when it's popping. It's going to start popping and it's going to keep going, right? With that, so as we keep our mouths shut and we save face and we observe, we can also be the light. We can also be of the light, serve the light, show light. And you can show light everywhere you go without saying a single word. You really can. Light actually has no judgment. And those are literally the words from the Akashic. I will read it to you. More are waking up to the illusion. And then they said, how to be the light. Light has no judgment. Light does not actually judge at all. All energy is actually neutral. All light is actually neutral until we decide its magnitude or its direction or its intention or its purpose. But pure light has no judgment. None whatsoever. I can really guarantee this. I can guarantee there's no judgment in any light. I mean, turn your light bulb on at the house. It is not judging anything. I mean, you could even see it as simple as electricity. I don't care how you need to see it, but there is absolutely no judgment in light bodies. None. None at all. So at the same time as we're pulling back, saving face, keeping quiet, observing so we can learn, we can also use this as an opportunity as we're being quiet to just be light. To just be light. So if you have to go to the grocery store this week, if you have to go to work, if you have to go here and people are cranky and there's stuff all over the media and there's stuff all over everything being said and done, if you just humbly and quietly, you don't even have to do much, I'm telling you folks, you don't. If you don't engage with the division that is an illusion, if you don't engage in it and you request that you, the divine, your higher self, be of light, you will be. It's actually very simple. Us humans, we complicate everything. To be the light is to just claim it in that moment and tell yourself, as I walk through this store, I am light. I am light. That's it. It's very simple. As I walk through work, I am light. And if somehow you stumble, fine, do it again. I am light. I am light. At the very end of this too, they wanted to reference not just light in shining light, right? You beautiful stars. But also this week is going to feel very heavy. It's going to feel, I mean, I was feeling it today already. It's going to feel very, very heavy. 3D density heavy. The heat heavy. I mean, it's going to feel bogged down heavy. So they wanted to use both understandings of light. Be the light when you pull back and you're just observing and walking around quietly and humbly and shining the way you are, beautiful stars. But also, if you do that, you will feel so much lighter through this heavy week. So much lighter. You don't have to hold the world on your shoulders. There's no such thing. No one man is an island, and there is no atlas. There's literally no atlas. That's not... There is, but it's the oneness that is the atlas. So, no one has to do that, but it's going to feel like it's the density, the 3D is going to feel, it's going to feel like it's forcing you to hold the world on your shoulders, and no. So again, I had a great mentor when I was younger that, I know I've said this before, they kept telling me to wear the world as a loose garment. And I remember when I first heard that, I mean, they had to repeat it all the time. Wear the world as a loose garment. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know, do you know the world we live in? This was over 20 years ago, folks. You know, do you know the world we live in? So when I'm saying that to you now, I'm sure many are going, do you know the world we live in, Courtney? Yes, I do. That is exactly... Because there's that statement of like, let it roll off your back. But that doesn't work so well for a lot of people. It really doesn't. But if we wear the concerns and what goes on in the world as a loose garment, as we just flow with it, and it flows with us, it doesn't really touch us all that much, but it is present. Like I keep saying in 2023, we move with the storms because we're in the eye of them, observing them, receiving a lot of growth and information and even manifestations. We're moving with the storms instead of letting them bat us all around or deny that they are there. We can just move with it. We can flow with it. So we can wear the world as a loose garment. We can know all that is present and have it still not affect us. And if we choose to be light this week, if we so choose, to when we have to do something, I am light. I am light. I am light. And pull back from engaging, then we will feel so much lighter. Because this week really is it's supposed to be for individual development and understanding and working through our beliefs and concepts. To really, if you were a brand, to kind of start rebranding yourself, right? That's what this week would be. But that's not what it's going to feel like. That's not what we're going to be experiencing it like. Because everyone is going through it. Everyone. If they know it or not. But here at Stars of Morning Light, we do know better. So we save face. We save face, meaning we don't need to speak. We don't need to engage in things. We do not need to take things personally. I guess I'm going to throw that in there too before I let everybody go. Please, we do not need to take things personally this week. I guess that's the biggest message, because I know as humans, don't take anything personally this week that comes out of your boss's mouth, your lover's mouth, your best friend's mouth. It does not matter. Your child's mouth. Do not take things personally this week. Focus on yourself. Go within. Wear the world as a loose garment. I am light. Do not engage in it. I am light. Do not speak about things. I am light. So that is the biggest message of right now for this week. I'm going to read the card again, and I see that some people came in the chat. It's good to see all of you. Thank you. Number 34, passion. The frequency of passion reminds us that beneath every intense emotion lies the hidden gem of insight, balance, and calm. It assists us in finding the balance within this intensity, moving us from chaos to calm of its core, where we can let its long-lasting wisdom fill us up. This, beautiful stars, is exactly the sacred geometry, as I hold the card up, that is this week. That is actually our opportunity on how to use energy that will be available to us for our highest good. To get beneath the intensity, into the core of it, for balancing, for what our truth really is. We can't use it if we are verbally throwing punches like everybody else, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sacred geometry. Before I let you guys go, I do have my Moon Manifesting course, of course, still on my summer sale. Link will, well, it's in the description. It'll be in the description when you see this on the flip side. You can always go to starsofmorninglight.com/shop. Also, a few weeks ago, I did that lovely recording video with Alex, the Ganja Shaman, and he had brought up the human trafficking stuff. I did not know that came more so back around into people's consciousness and awareness, because there was a film that was released. I actually just saw that yesterday, that film was released about it. I know the man that is based off. I don't know him personally, but I know the backstory of that man that movie's based off of. But as that video was released and we were all listening to Alex, I was in the chat. I had an opportunity to be in the chat that night, and I had referenced um, personal stories about human trafficking. And I said maybe I'll do a video. I do want to tell you all that I did forget about that between stuff, but I remembered yesterday morning. And then I spent yesterday kind of going, is that for this channel or is that for, Courtney Mick channel? I'm also Courtney Mick, right? Um, and I even spoke to others about it, should I put my stories? Because it's going to have 3 different examples of conversations I've had and life experiences I've had um, to just help with the awareness, right? Uh, I kind of hem and hawed all day yesterday as to is that appropriate for this channel, right? Because it's vastly off topic, but it's not. So I am going to probably tomorrow record that. I have 3 different examples and of how I've always known it that existed. And the last story though will be definitely for those who are listening now, and I will have to put advisories up all over it because it's a horrific story, but the ending of the story is about strangers coming together to take care of that situation. Complete strangers. Complete strangers actually handling what needed to be handled, and so it's actually it's a great story of hope. But to get to that ending is pretty tragic. So I am going to do that video for this channel because of the result of strangers automatically coming together to handle things. And that is what we do. That is what humans have always done when there is something dangerous, let's say, harmful, something that none of us agree with. We can be complete strangers and we can come together and handle it. It is what we've always done. And so because the awareness is back out there again, I will share those stories to also shine some light as to how different versions of it actually happen. There are many different ways that can happen. So I am going to share that here at Stars of the Morning Light. I will record that tomorrow. And then maybe you guys can share that even out so everyone can gain even more awareness. Because I had always had awareness. All right, beautiful stars. I look forward to being with you on Wednesday live at 2 p.m. for the Edgar Casey Life Skills Studies. If this can help anybody, please share it out. If you're new here, subscribe. Everybody hit those thumbs up for me. Ring my bell if you need to. And I enjoy you all so much. Remember, pull back, and be light. Be light. So, namaste. I love you guys. Cheers.